first thing you have to do is tell who you are.
Yep.
If you're from Windsor,
Yes.
when you came, how long you lived here, you're still a resident.
When you want to start, I'm ready.
Go for it. You can
Okay.
go.
My name is Charlie Backus. I moved to Windsor when I was 4 years old. The street that I lived on is Scarborough Road. It is a dead end. It runs up to Windsor Avenue. It runs parallel to Rood Avenue. And that whole neighborhood was built by a fellow by the name of Woods. He was a developer. He built uh, basically housing that was affordable for guys that were World War II vets. And the neighborhood was very homogeneous. It was all baby boomers whose parents generally were World War II or possibly Korea. And I think my parents paid either 10,500 or 11,500 for the house. And I think their mortgage was probably 0.5% or 1%. We were the first ones that lived in that house. I remember the other side of Root Avenue was Blackberries, where Oakland Hills is now. There were berry fields there. I went to school in kindergarten and first grade at Deerfield. I had the dubious position of living the furthest from any of the schools I attended that you had to walk to and not get a bus. I lived a mile from Leland P. Wilson, where I went to junior high. I went to Windsor High, it was similar, about a mile. The biggest two things from Leland Wilson, I had a teacher who was very influential in my life. Janice Trecker, I believe was her name. She was an English teacher. And I was kind of a wise guy, and she really inspired me for English and literature. She was a great teacher. The other highlight or mega event that I remember was when Kennedy was assassinated. And they put the announcement on the loudspeaker. And some of the teachers in the hallway were hysterical. And there was a math teacher, I think his name was Tim McGrath. And he took one female teacher by the hand and he slapped her face. And he said to her, "Pull yourself together. We have to set an example for the kids." And that really struck me, that happened in front of everybody right there in the hallway, the kids and the other teachers. Later on, I went to Windsor High School.
Well, what was your neighborhood like on Scarborough Road?
It was very, very similar. I think at the time, it was, as I recall, it was entirely white. There were a handful of black families at the high school, but my street was exclusively, European descendants. There were Polish, there were some Italian and English and whatnot. There was a family from Spain that moved in when I was probably in high school. They were the first, non-English speaking family on the street. I liked, growing up in Windsor, I liked the high school. There were some great teachers, and I think the quality of the education in public school was excellent. One of my favorite teachers was Tim Murphy, who was from Boston area, had been in the service, was a boxer. History I liked a great deal, in English, but I thought the teachers were great. Hazel Sullivan, another one, give back to the community. The other thing that was synonymous was Windsor was the tobacco industry. Everybody picked tobacco. You're 14 years old, get a job for the summer, and when you were 15. And agricultural, you could work 14 and 15, but to work at a store like Tops or McDonald's, you had to be 16. So everybody worked, and you sweated, and it was a 48-hour week. You worked 6 days a week, and there was no overtime. And you learn the value of a dollar. And people, it was expected you'd work if you weren't going to school in the summertime. And I couldn't wait to get out of Windsor and go to Boston for college. It was my excuse to get to Boston was I studied liberal arts. I majored in psychology. I don't think there was much of a future with philosophy, but that's what I was interested in. And I was in Boston during the 60s, late 60s, and saw all of that turmoil and anti-authoritarianism. And I've lived in the Massachusetts area pretty much since then. I retired in 2015. I still come home to see friends and dwindling relatives in Windsor. I love the Shad Derby. And for the first time in my life, when I went to Bart's 75th anniversary, I took a swim in the Farmington, behind the boat launch up to the Bissell Bridge where I spent, or not Bissell Bridge, the Stone Bridge, the railroad bridge, where I spent many times in high school, during the Shad Derbies and just hanging out. All the river rats is what we call ourselves, but they told us at the time, don't be swimming in there. It's not very cool. But I enjoyed swimming when I was in there this past summer, and I might even go again today. Who knows?
What inspired you to jump in this summer?
I have become very dependent on swimming for endorphins. I try to swim 4 miles per week. I live in Old Orchard Beach. The water's pretty cold up there, and there's a lot of red algae from time to time. I predominantly swim in the indoor YMCA pool in Biddeford, Maine, and the water temperature year-round is 81 degrees, quite comfortable. But if I swim 4 miles a week, it alleviates my lower back compressed disc problem, and it helps greatly with any anxiety or depressive issues that I might have. So I was down for the weekend, and I didn't want to miss an opportunity to get in the water, and for nostalgic reasons, the water quality is better than it was when I was in high school. I figured, what the hell, I'm going to try a dip. So I did, and enjoyed it. But I will say that as I'm older and as I return to Windsor, I am more and more enamored by it. It's a beautiful town.
So you think you're moving back?
I'm kind of old in the tooth for it. I live in Old Orchard Beach. I have one son that's in New Hampshire. I don't like the winters in New England anymore. My family history on both sides of the family go back to the New London area from the mid-1630s. So I'm a real swamp Yankee is what they called us. But I would like to, in the future, be able to get out of New England winters for about a month to break the back of the coldest weather from maybe mid-January to mid-February and go someplace warm enough to swim outdoors in the winter. But we'll see. We'll see.
So, getting back to you growing up in Windsor, did your father work in Windsor?
Father worked at the Hartford Post Office for years and years and years. We did not have a car. Couldn't afford a car until I was 14 years old. And some of my happiest memories were taking the bicycles with the fishing poles across the handlebars down to Loomis. We'd fish the pond in Loomis, and then we'd go across into the Farmington where the pond drains out into the water. People in Windsor, at Loomis, were very accommodating. And I'll tell you a difference between then and now, a gross difference. I was asthmatic, I was not athletic, I did not belong to the sports teams at Windsor High School. When I would come home from school, in high school, we had a beagle dog. I would take a .22 caliber bolt action target rifle, and I would cross Windsor Avenue. I'd go down through the old golf course, I'd cross the railroad tracks, and I'd walk right through the campus at Loomis School with that .22 rifle and my dog. And on my mother's side of the family, her brother-in-law's uncle was the herdsman. His name was Hawksley. Way back in the day at Loomis when they had their own herd and they had milk for the kids that boarded at Loomis. But I would take that bolt action out as I was taught by my dad, empty the rifle, keep it pointed down, walk right back through that campus, across the railroad tracks, and back home, and I'd clean the rifle on my front steps, and the neighbors goes, "Hey, Charlie, did you have a good day?" "Yep, me and the dog had a fun time." And I wonder how far you would get in that Loomis campus carrying a rifle nowadays, whereas you are not even allowed to fish in that pond or on the other side because it's no trespassing. And of course, it's loaded with poison ivy. But those were happy memories. My father and me and my youngest sister take the bike ride on the handlebars and then bike ride back up to Scarborough Road from Loomis.
You related to Betsy?
I am Betsy's older brother, yeah.
Older brother. All right, I can see the resemblance.
She was the one with both feet on the ground. I was the one who was the smart, I would say. She was the smart one, I was the smart ass one. So she has always been an inspiration for good advice and support. And she has done very proud for herself and our family name in the town, her and Gordon, my brother-in-law. I was the kind of, I wouldn't say necessarily black sheep of the family, but I was always the one that had the itchy feet.
Every family has to have one.
Yeah,
At least one.
I had the itchy feet, and I had to see the bigger city. I didn't like New York; it was too big and then too intimidating for me. But Boston was a good fit. I had enjoyed it a great deal. One of the biggest luxuries I permit myself is I have over 20 years now been a subscriber to Boston Symphony Orchestra. And I still go back now, COVID permitting, with the mask and the cards, but I'll go and have my Boston Symphony, and I have made recently Portland Symphony Orchestra and have become friends with the maestro there, who is, I guess, from Austria, Eckhard Proy, and he is similar to the maestro at Boston Symphony Orchestra. They are both young, relatively speaking, very dynamic. They bring out 100%, 110% with the audience and the orchestra. And in Portland, they're gracious enough. They have a pre-concert lecture, and he's also taken to having post-concert question and answer follow-ups, generally with the principal performer for the piece that they do. So those are my happy memories. I can remember in Windsor the Luddy House had the folk music at the coffee house there, and I promoted that. Of course, you can't say Windsor without Al Anderson. The Wild Weeds and NRBQ and the rest of that, but he certainly made Windsor well-known name for what he has accomplished in the music world. And I look forward to seeing them. Occasionally he comes back. So he'll be around Christmas time, I guess, again.
He was in Old Saybrook, not too long
Yes, but I think he's going to do, what's that place near this in Hartford.
Infinity Hall.
Yes, I believe he's playing there in December. I'm not positive of the date, but I think he'll be back for that.
That's the one thing about Al Anderson and NRBQ. He sold the name and everything to that band, because when I seen the NRBQ up in Enfield, not the same without Al Anderson.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Al's an institution.
And his mother was a wonderful piano teacher, Charlotte. She was a wonderful piano teacher in Windsor,
Yeah.
across from St. Gabe's.
That's about it.
All right,
All right.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you
That
so
was
much.
very good.
We really appreciate it.
Well,